It's working. So I guess we can start. I'll say a few things in Greek first of all, and then I'll continue in English. Καλησπέρα σας. Έχουν περάσει σχεδόν 4 χρόνια από τότε που είχα κάνει μια αντίστοιχη ομιλία. Οπότε σήμερα είναι λίγο η διόρυθμη κατάσταση με το γεγονός ότι είναι μια ομιλία στην οποία θα παρουσιάσω αφενός με τα πεπραγμένα, τι έκανα ως διευθυντής τα τελευταία 4 χρόνια, πώς συνεισέφερα στις δραστηριότητες του Ινστιτούτου. Αλλά παράλληλα, επειδή είμαι και υποψήφιος και μάλιστα μοναδικός υποψήφιος, θα πω και κάποια πράγματα λίγο παραπάνω για μένα. And, the talk typically is in Greek, but since the majority of the personnel at the Institute of Astrophysics is not proficient in Greek yet, and the main language is Spanish, I think, and then Italian, and some Greek, I will give my talk in Greek. So thank you very much for being here. So today is February 15th. And 4 years ago, the 10th of January, I gave a similar talk. And as you can see, the transparencies were in Greek at the time, since the majority of the people, everyone spoke Greek, including Pablo, who was our Spanish representative. I was the candidate for the position of the director at the time. I was the only candidate then as now, which facilitates greatly the selection process. And at the time, as you can see, I was faculty at the Department of Physics, and I was affiliated with the Institute of Electronic Structures and Lasers at the time. And one of the transparencies that I showed was this one, where I said, you know, how the Institute of Astrophysics, which was formed the year before, formally was at that date. And as you can see with green, with yellow, there were the two people, Pablo Reg and Tassos Kougendakis, who were the members of ISL, which transferred to the Institute of Astrophysics. Everyone else was affiliated with the physics department at the time. And as you can see, as we say in Greek, we could easily fit in a taxi, the director and the two members. So we were a boutique institute, as we used to say, and we continue using this word. So this was the state then, and the Institute of Astrophysics, as you all know, it took a long time to actually be created. And one needs to wonder, why did one want to create an institute, right? Why did we want to create a separate institute, even though we were functioning very well as a team, as a group, within the Institute of Electronic Structures and Lasers? Excuse me. And here I highlight a few reasons why we wanted to do that. One is to establish a clear research identity, which would be visible to scientists that wanted to join us, as well as to the stakeholders, national and international, that maybe wanted to support us, right? So operating within ISL was safe, right? It was a big institute with a lot of resources, but it had its limitations. If we wanted to recruit high quality astronomers, postdocs, or students, some of them had a bias and may want to come only to an astrophysics institute, not into a physics institute, right? And also we wanted to be able to develop and fund our strategy, our expansion strategy independently, right? So we wanted to be able to support and expand our research infrastructure, since Kiranakas Observatory is our main infrastructure, and as you know, and I will show a bit later on, is the premier observatory in Greece and probably in Southeast Europe. And we also wanted to establish an easily identifiable public outreach image, because this is very important in order to attract attention and possibly funding. And we were already doing that at the time. We were organizing astronomy public outreach events across Greece. Crete, we were engaging with the public in science topics. And we also wanted to be able to involve in influence astronomy education, which is also important. And also what we wanted to do, which was the fourth part, is to engage as an institute in activities which would have a direct societal impact. And in particular, this is something that we do right now, and I will discuss a bit about that, which will greatly facilitate our ability to actually cover some of the operational cost of our infrastructure, right? So we wanted to be able to train the next generation of citizens and also to enable novel business opportunities in Crete as well as in Greece in general. So we were fortunate and we were able to do that, right? Why? Because we had a very strong support, both political and financial, from the administration of Forth. Kostas Fotakis, when he was chairman of the board of directors, supported our effort way back. And actually, as a minister, he was the one who actually created the institute. And Nektarios Tavernarakis, the chairman of the board, was also very supportive throughout this laborious process of that some of you already know about the name changes, etc. And also the reason why we were able to achieve that was also because we were fortunate because we could profit from existing operational experience that existed at ISL and Forth, and in particular the first year of our operation, thanks to the support and the agreement of the Spiros Anastasiadis, who was the director of ISL at the time, who had very strong administrative support by the people at ISL, the administrators at ISL, because we hired Eleftheria in a year later. So where we are right now, in one slide, what is our history and goals? We were founded in March of 2018. Normal operations started sometime in the summer of 2019. We do targeted scientific research in various areas of observational and theoretical astrophysics, but in select areas we are very small, so we need to select carefully what we will be working on. You'll see about that later on. And we have two infrastructures. The key one that belongs to us is Skinakas. Skinakas is a common research infrastructure of the University of Crete and Forth, and through an updated MOU, the Institute of Astrophysics actually manages it. And we also use heavily a high-performance computing cluster that exists in the physics department. And also we do education and public outreach. This is not the key activity of the institute, but it's very important because we have it. I do believe, and most of us in the institute believe, that we need to do that in order to justify to the taxpayers why they are supporting us. So we train students and postdocs. We're organizing public outreach events. And as you will see later on, we are directly involved in influencing astronomy curricula across the board. So where we are is, I don't see very many people outside the Institute of Astrophysics here, maybe one. So you don't see us, this is where Forth is. And you don't see us very much, not even in the cafeteria, because we are actually located in the physics department. Forth is to the right, and there is a building in which space has been allocated to us through an MOU, through an agreement of the board of directors. And we decided for practical reasons to actually opt out from moving to that building up until next year. I think April 2024 is when we will be able to move. Okay, something happened. It's not mine. Okay. And you can see the area which has been allocated to us. One of the reasons that we didn't move yet was because this area is actually fairly small for our needs right now. And also we would have to pay utilities, which we don't pay in the physics department. And we thought that it was not prudent doing that due to the financial situation of the institute. So this is where we are right now. We have something like 700 square meters of space in the second floor of the physics department. So what is the environment? The environment of the Institute of Astrophysics is, I think, goal-oriented, diverse, and very inclusive. We operate traditionally with strong confidence and trust to the people we are select. We are selective, but once we select someone, we actually give trust them and let them move ahead the best way they think possible. We encourage bottom-up initiatives. I think the older people may have seen that. And we strongly believe that the whole is greater than the sum. And we organize social activities in order to increase the cohesiveness in events. Most of them involve free food and alcohol sometimes, thanks to the Strataridakis family. And inform as well as, however, in order to go that, we have a strict code of conduct and ethics, and we inform everyone, all new hires about that, and we actually apply it. We manage the human potential by identifying the best and strive to convince them to join us. We directly support the needs of all members. I think most people would agree on that. And the director is hands-on if there is a difficulty. And wiser people like Professor Kilafis, who is emeritus and has agreed to take the role of ombudsman. This is a word that I actually learned from Yannis Talianidis. I didn't even know it existed at the time. Plays that role. So, and we actually encourage very much the travel and invitation of scientists from at all levels, from students to senior to more distinguished scientists as Kilafis lecturers, as well as we have several programs, exchange programs where students and postdocs can actually go to leading institutes in the US and in Europe. So just for practicality, this is our structure. This is typical. We have an external scientific advisory committee. We were fortunate to actually have a fairly well-known scientists from across the planet that wanted to come and help us. And they have visited us back in 2019 and gave us some very useful advice. You can see them here. And we inform them every year with sending them our annual report, key projects in which we were involved. We keep very close. We keep very close ties with them. And here you can actually see the organizational structure, researchers, technical personnel, and I have sort of like the people there in some numbers. It's not so important. So since I need to say something about me, because I'm also a candidate, I'll just put up a slide, even though most people, you do know me. I came to Crete back in 2005 as an assistant professor at the University of Crete. And I did my PhD in the US, and I was a postdoc both in the US and in France. You can see my bibliometric on the right, and also over the past several years, I have been involved in various admin positions, basically because I think I'm getting older. And so I would just like to highlight a couple. That's like I'm the vice chair of the board of directors of the Journal of Astronomy and Astrophysics. That's the leading European journal in astrophysics. And also, as of this week, I'm the chair of the board of directors of the larger infrastructure project, astronomy project in Europe. I was vice chair before, and I was also elected a couple of years ago president of the Hellenic Astronomical Society. And I've been a member of various councils in the Scientific Council, CNRS and CEA, the Astronomy Working Group of ISA and the Paris Observatory. There is an emphasis in France there because of the food. I like going to Paris, as most of you know. So the situation of us as we are right now is the following. You can see that currently the Institute has 4 researchers, 4 affiliated faculty and a director. We have 1 engineer, Tassos, who was there before, and we were very lucky that we got an extra position through ASEP, and Yannis Kapetanakis actually got a permanent position. And we have 1 dedicated technician for Skinnagos Observatory from the University of Crete. Everyone else is on soft money. Most of them are paid by projects, and some are paid by the Institute. The secretary and observatory support is paid by the Institute, for example. Here you can actually see in one slide the scientific output of of the Crete Astrophysics group, as you can say, just cumulative, because cumulative is important. I think what is very important is that scientists of our institute have been awarded 3 ERCs of the 4 that were attributed to astronomy or the universe science in Greece. So we are something like 14% of the permanent personnel in Greece, and we have 3/4 of the ERCs awarded. And also we had 2+2 scientists which were also graded A but not funded. So the point is that 80% of our hires since 2008 were graded as A by ERC. This is an interesting statistics, I think. And we were fortunate to be awarded something like 10.5 million euros over that period of something like 15, 16 years. So we have also our members include the most citations per astrophysics researcher in Greece, the top two most cited, etc. And we have trained a number of students and postdocs, and actually a large fraction of them have permanent positions now. Eva Dormoussi, who was here with the ELIDEC fellowship, actually just got a permanent position right now in Italy. So 16 of these people have positions outside Greece, which is also very important, I think, for our legacy that we are building. So how were we able to do that? We were able to do that partly due to the international profile that we have, and also to the fact that Crete as a place, and Forth in particular, we are able to attract excellent scientists from across the world, right? They want to come with us, work with us, and either on long or short visits. And since most of the permanent personnel have spent substantial time abroad, we were able to maintain strong collaborations with leading institutions across the globe. In the US, in particular, with Caltech and Harvard, Cornell not so much anymore. In France, we have strong ties with CEA, in Germany with MPE and Max Planck, and the UK with Cambridge in particular. So 4 years after that first slide, you can see we not only we feel a taxi, but we need a small van if we want to move. So this was progress in terms of personnel. So just the slide here, you can see underlined the permanent members. The reason why I show that slide is based, first of all, to show that, to demonstrate that all of us have studied abroad and actually worked a substantial amount of time as well. And also you will see that you have a number of non-Greek names there, which also shows the international aspect of the Institute, which is also, I think, very important. And you can see some statistics in terms of the researchers that we have, the postdocs and etc. We were able to actually, as other institutes so forth, we have affiliated fellows, which help us substantially. Paul Callas, for example, is from, his parents are from Crete. He visits us every summer, and he's a professor at Berkeley. Manos Hadjopoulos used to be an undergraduate here in Crete, and he still has family here. So he's faculty at LSU, and he was one of our latest affiliated faculty. And as per the normal fourth rules, these people can apply for EU grants. They can use the fourth as their host. They can supervise students, etc. So it's a very, it helps us, in particular, our soft money personnel, to have good international connections with people from top institutes. And we have two emeriti fellows, Professor Papamassorakis and Professor Kilafis. They really are valuable to me, in particular, because they give useful advice and help us. The best way to solve problems is not getting into them, and their experience actually help us on that. And I'm very thankful for their presence and active support all those years. So if you want to see a bit more statistics, just to know how our institute is, here I took only the permanent people. So we have 9 permanent people, and you can actually see here that on average we publish 7 papers per year, 600 citations per person per year. The median age is 45. I think this is by any means, I think this is excellent. And we also managed to have high impact papers. And here you can see some in Science and Nature, which, as you know, are the top journals in any field. So if you want to see a bit more how we're doing, this is again the history of our publications, thesis in PhD and masters. Here you see how we go. You can see the period that we are operational, we are doing a bit better, as expected. And if you wanted to compare us with other institutes in Greece, we are the most productive astrophysics unit in Greece by any normalized measure by far. And I don't compare, but you need to take my word on it. I've done the numbers as the president of the Hellenic Astronomical Society. So what were we able to do as an institute over the past few years, we were able to strengthen our strategic collaborations. This is very important. First of all, with the University of Crete, as you know, this is always a challenging task because of the fourth has a better visibility than the University of Crete for a number of reasons. It's 1/4, and many universities, for example, is one of the reasons. But I think we are able to have very good relation with the administration of the university, which is critical for the operation of Skinnacas. We have established formal strategic collaborations with the Institute of Electronic Structure and Laser on two aspects. One is the ISA Skylight initiative. I will show some slides after that. And within the context of European Quantum Communication Initiative, these are big European projects I'll talk about, and there is expertise at ISL on those. And also with the Institute of Computer Science at Forth, we already had common projects with the Signal Processing Lab, but in particular, thanks to the NERA chair that was submitted by ICS on the field of astroinformatics by a long-time collaborator and friend, Jean-Luc Stark, who is actually going to be spending 50% of his time over the next 5 years here at Forth. This will actually help us substantially since astroinformatics is an expanding field in the whole context of data science, also in astronomy. And also within the Institute of Applied Computational Math, we have collaboration. Some people actually from our institute were able to, they have common projects thanks to Forth Synergy grants. So outside the Crete, we maintain very strong ties, in particular with Caltech, through Robopol, Pacify, the ERC project of Kostas, as well as the ERC project of Carolina. With the University of Minnesota, thanks to a new infrastructure which is going to be operating at Skinnacas starting next year, time domain in the optical. Cambridge that I mentioned, there are direct ties. Actually, there is a Gian Angelopoulos program of the GAPSTI and Impact for Greece. We have strong connections with them. And of course, with the Max Planck Institute of Radio Astronomy in Bonn, NCA, now in particular, thanks to the pet project of Yannis Antoniadis, Argos, which will revolutionize time domain in the radio, as well as other institutes. And very importantly, I should not forget, there is a strategic collaboration with other stakeholders, in particular with the town of Anoia, which has been catalytic in supporting Skinnacas for 35 years now, and helping us in various activities. So what we do in addition to science, which I will talk about later on, is that we are involved in public outreach and education. We have open nights at Skinnacas Observatory for the past 25 years. Last year, after COVID, after being closed for COVID, it was spectacular. We had more than 800 people per night. We produce POM, public outreach materials. Andreas Ezas is running the GeoStar project, which will provide more interesting material for students and the general public. And we are also support education. And for that, we were very fortunate because we were able to establish the Eureka Prize to recognize motivated high school teachers, thanks to the close collaboration and actually original idea by Crete University Press and Mathesis. We have been organizing the annual Crete School of Astrophysics. We typically accept something like 150 high school students per year. This is the 3rd year it's running. And we actually received funding through ongoing collaborations to create educational material for astronomy education, both nationally with an ELIDEC program as well as an Erasmus Plus program. And historically, Yannis Papamastorakis has been contributing to the Onassis lectures. And we were fortunate that this past year, the Onassis lectures were in gravitational waves, the new window in astrophysics. And we were fortunate that very well-known scientists, the Nobel Prize winner, Barry Baris, and other people who visited Forth and also had the opportunity to discuss with our scientists. And It's not only that, is that we actually create a lot of material. I think it's very important, since astronomy is an education, is a science of images. We are very active in terms of PO and social media. Just give you some numbers. We have most of our seminars are online. We have a YouTube channel. We have a Facebook page where we inform on our activities, and we have a photo gallery actually with more than nearly 2 gigabytes of photos, astronomical and whatnot. So we document our history fairly extensively because, as we know, you never get a second chance to make a first impression. It's not clear whether Oscar Wilde said that, but he's one of the candidates to have said it. So let's see what we have been doing with Skinnacus over the past 4 years, our infrastructure, right? This is a picture of the peak taken last May. You can see the 1.3 meter telescope here. We actually, that doesn't work. The guest house back in 2019 was named after Yannis Papamastorakis to basically recognize his lifelong commitment and contribution to making Skinnacus Observatory a reality. And we were able last year to actually finish the construction of a new dome, the 5.3 meter dome that you see up to the right. And in that dome, actually, we will be able to place a new 1 meter class telescope. The order for that has been put. And it was decided that it will be named 200 plus by the Committee of Greece 2021 for the 200 years of the Greek, since the Greek Revolution. So Skinnacus, as most of you would know, is located in the Anoia region. You can actually see it here, a satellite image of South Aegean. You can see that the weather comes from the north. You can see that, so you have strong laminar flow from the north, and since the peak is on the north side of the island, we actually have good weather. The infrastructure investment that we had up in the mountain, it was 4 million. We will put another 6 million by the end of 2024. So it will more than double. And originally this was the first telescope back in 1986. The first CCD camera in Greece was put there, thanks to Yannis. And then in 1995, since the first measurements demonstrated that it was a great site, a new telescope was purchased. October of 1995 started operating. It was and remains the best equipped small telescope in continental Europe. We mostly use now the optical cameras and the Robopol filter, the Robopol, polarimeter, which is the most accurate in the world for now. And starting next year, Wallop will be operating, and that will be even better. More on that later. So the interesting thing was that in this past 4-year period, there was a strategic decision, which I will explain later on, and Skinnacus was validated as an infrastructure to participate in 2 projects, the EU Space Surveillance and Tracking. This is a European Commission initiative, and the ESA Skylight program, which involves secure laser communication technology, space and ground. And I'll talk about this later on. So here you can see the new building that was constructed over this past 4 years. It was a long process. It's amazing how complicated it is to actually pour concrete, as one of my postdoc supervisor had mentioned to me many years back. Effectively, the building was completed in June 2021. It was originally from 250K investment. Basically, it was Interreg program, Greece and Cyprus, and extra funding by the University of Crete and the Institute in order to make it happen. Currently, it hosts a robotic telescope. You can see it here. We had it in the past from 2006 to 2013. Then the dome was destroyed, and we put it back there last year. It will remain there up until the new 1 meter telescope comes in, hopefully in 2024. It's fully robotic, and the new telescope will be fully robotic, and we will do rapid follow-up of transients, both in imagery and polarimetry, and we will also do applied research, in particular satellite monitoring. And that's how we envision that this will be used. What we also were able to do was we placed an order for a new 1-meter telescope, 200 plus. Most of the funding on this came from Greece 2021, the committee. This was a competitive process. We were fortunate to be selected for that. And there is extra funding that the University of Crete actually gave from structural funds. We placed the order. We are in the process of finishing up the design and starting the construction. Again, you can actually see the science that will be due transient, basically time domain. And since we will do applied research, we hope that this will contribute to covering operational costs. And there is still the hope that we will obtain a new 1.2-meter robotic telescope. This, in principle, has been approved. It's within the whole package of more than 50 million euros that Forth secured from funds that originally were given by the European Investment Bank to the Greek government and distributed in various ways. If all goes well, we expect to place the order sometime in 2023, this year. There is a 3-year delivery for this type of telescope, so hopefully sometime in 2027, we will have another telescope up on the mountain. What else we have done? We have strong support from the region of Crete. The region of Crete actually gave funding to repair the road. The construction started the last 5 kilometers. The construction started last year. Extra funds will be needed, but things will be completed sometime this year. The contract is actually awarded to the town of Anoia. Moreover, there was an extra 1 million that was given by the government via the Adonis Tritsis program, and this got the blessings of the Greece 2021 again to create a multi-purpose building, which will also have a dome. The dome itself costs 180,000 plus VAT, and the construction on that will start as the money is secured. The contractor has been selected, and construction will start as soon as the snow melts. We were also fortunate that the prefect of Crete actually approved 210,000 euros in December to actually connect the observatory with the grid. Up until now, we use photovoltaics, and the construction will start again. The money will be given to the town of Anoia to construct in the summer. And also, in the context of the Euro and Hellas QCI that I mentioned to you, there is a big project, 10 million project, 50% co-funded by the Ministry of Digital Governance. And in that context, the observatory will be connected with Forth. It's a 1 million euro investment on the hardware on that, which would be used for the context of quantum communication, but it will also have fibers that we will use for our data and other activities. That is very impressive. So having secured electricity and connection to the fiber optic network of the country is instrumental, because this way we fulfill a number of criteria for providing possibly services down the road, or actually have other stakeholders who would like to use Skinnacas for various activities I could discuss later on if needed. So in terms of applied research, there are a couple of projects. One is led currently by Wolf von Klinsing from ISL. It's basically, it is related to upgrade a 1.3-meter telescope to be able to communicate, to receive laser signals from satellites on basically low and medium Earth orbit. And also there is and this has been awarded now, is 450K, and also there is an additional proposal of 180K almost that Pablo is leading, which will support, where ESA is supporting the operations of the 1.3-meter, which is also important for us. And this all falls within the Euro and Hellas QCI initiatives and covers some of the operation costs that we have. So the basic idea for those who don't know about this, it's interesting to note As you know, communication from space comes typically with radio signals, which is very convenient because they go through clouds and you have antennas on the ground, but the bandwidth is not that high. It costs a lot of money to actually send and receive signals from space. So the world and ESA in particular wants to actually send data with laser light at 1.5 microns. This will increase the bandwidth by nearly 5 orders of magnitude, but you need an optical telescope to actually capture the beam. And the interesting part of that is that here in this context, the South Europe and in particular Crete has a strategic advantage because the weather is good. Because the 1.5, the near infrared light doesn't go through clouds. And as you know, the Southern Europe, just from the influx of tourists, is more sunny than Northern Europe. So we can actually have a strategic advantage on that one. So it is very interesting for us to do it. And also in parallel, for strategic reasons, also Europe wants to compete in what is called the space surveillance and tracking. Track assets in space. Currently, you may know that there are something like 4,000 satellites in orbit around Earth. And it is expected that this will increase to 100,000 by 2030. So problems of collisions will appear. So there is an emerging market which is called space traffic management. And they are in the process, various countries are in the process of actually setting up the specifications on what is needed in order to be able to do that. The European Commission wants to play a role into that, and since it's a European effort, all countries need to be involved. So people from countries from Southern Europe where the weather is good can contribute with optical telescopes. And this is where our role is. And we are seizing this opportunity of applied research. So in terms of basic research, the key instrument that we have up on the mountain, and it's been operating successfully since for nearly 10 years now, and it continues to do so, is the RoboPol polarimeter. This was a project of Vaso Pavlidou. I'm not going to talk much about this, but it's been working wonderfully, and actually it was one of the projects that was nearly accepted. An ERC project had to do with actually using this polarimetry for some novel science. The other project that we have underway is the ERC program of Kostas Stasis. The idea of that is to build two identical polarimeters, one in the north here in Crete and the other one in the south. And the idea is to actually measure the polarized light from stars. And since you know thanks to the ESA mission where these stars are located, and if you actually, we also know that it's the magnetic field which aligns the dust grains in our galaxy, which causes that polarization, one can solve the inverse problem and actually create a 3D map of the structure of the magnetic field of our galaxy. This has never been done before, and also aid in foreground removal from the cosmic microwave background and actually see whether we can tackle the presence of B modes, which is the holy grail of modern cosmology. This is a nearly 6 million project funded by the ERC of Kostas, also a donation from the Stavros Niarchos Foundation, and additional funds from other sources. So this is where eager to actually have that instrument operating on the mountain sometime before the end of 2023. And here you can actually see the two instruments. And the importance of this project is evident by the fact that the US Academy of Science in the decadal survey for astronomy and astrophysics in 2020, they actually mention Pacify by name, if you see there. At the bottom says large surveys of stellar polarization and filamentary, blah, blah, blah. So it's the international community actually anticipates this, the realization of this wonderful idea that Kostas is making happen. The other two directions that we are moving is time domain in the optical and the radio. In terms of time domain in the optical, A collaborator and colleague from the US was awarded $1 million from the National Science Foundation, and it will invest $350K to Skinnacas to actually build a suite of 16 small telescopes, and another 16 small telescopes will be in New Mexico. And this telescope will be able to move within 2 seconds at any position in the sky and image an area of something like 120 square degrees. For people to get an idea on that, is that the moon is half a degree on the side. So 120 square degrees, if you think about it, it is basically, I should be able to do that. I cannot do that right now. It's a very big area. Let's leave it at that. So the key behind that is because as we heard this summer from the Onassis lectures, the gravitational wave detectors are opening new windows. The detectors are fantastic, but the localization of the source of the gravitational wave from the gravitational wave detectors is very poor. Here you can see the location of the 3 detectors on the LIGO detectors in the US and the Virgo in Europe. And the footprint of where the signal is coming from the various sources is seen on the left. And this is sort of like an image of the whole sky, right? 4 pi. So as you can see, this is not very good. And that's a limitation. That's why what you would like to do is to basically move quickly and image a very large area. This was done back in 2017, back in August of 2017, and a source was detected. Here on the left, you can actually see the uncertainty area of LIGO. And then on the right, you can see progressively how the source was localized. And again, you can see here on the top, you can see the gravitational wave signal as a function of time. It increased, the frequency was changing. And at the bottom, you can actually see the fainting of the source that appeared in a nearby galaxy. So this is one of the type of science that Turbo will be able to do, as well as follow up supernovae explosions, etc., which is also the interest of John Antoniadis, who is also strongly involved in that, as well as Andreas Cesas. And the other project that just started this year, it involves time domain astrophysics in radio. This is Argos. This is a 3 million euro project, which came on the infradev of the Horizon. The idea is basically to create low-cost, scalable, expandable radio interferometer. There are CEA, Max Planck, and the University of Piraeus, in addition to Forth, are involved. And we will put a small array up in Skinnacas, which will operate in tandem with Turbo and the polarimeter. And you can do slow transients, gravitational wave counterparts, etc. And it's a technology development project. So at the end of this 3-year period, the team will actually determine whether you can actually build something bigger, either in Crete, in an area that is going to be evaluated very soon, or in other places in Europe. So these were the science that we've been doing, and this is, and then I think it's interesting to see some numbers about the cost of science. And we can see it here. How, an institute was created, right? What does it cost to the taxpayers? So here in blue, you can see the salaries of the personnel of the Institute of Astrophysics, and in red, what it's cost from the affiliated members. So at the bottom line, you can actually see that the state is giving us something like 178,000, and directly to Forth for the institute, and another 170K to the University of Crete for the affiliated faculty. To operate so far, we were very fortunate that we had a dowry, Prika, from Forth. So the first 4 years, we actually spent something like 200K. Currently, and we are spending now our own money, is that we had our reserve is 170K, which was basically originally from matching funds, and 350K from overheads. The reason why I give these numbers is because it is unlikely that we will be getting substantial amounts of matching funds in the future, because the policy of the government on that has changed. So our main source of income is overheads from grants. So we are a small institute and we need to keep on writing proposals. And the reason why you need to do it, because we have expenses here. You can actually see the operation expenses of the institute, not the projects. This is money that we're spending every year. And our budget, for example, for 2023, we anticipate something like 120K. That's what we put in the budget. But luckily, the cost on soft money personnel will be less, because we transferred a lot of the people, most of the people, into grants. So we typically, it's the administrator is and some small funds is the ones on salary. So the reason why I say that is mostly for the members of the institute to know that the situation is still unstable, but we should be trying, and we're doing well. This is how we do in terms of proposals. Since 2018, I have full record on that. We submitted 57 proposals. 26% success rate, that's not bad. And we still have 6 proposals pending. And out of this funding, our overheads are in between 5 and 15% ballpark. So that's our source of income for anything other than the salaries. And we were very fortunate, and I mentioned that we were able to secure also private funding. And this is, I think, where our identity as an Institute of Astrophysics is going to help us down the road, because somehow I think wealthy people are interested in fundamental questions of the universe, not only, and this may, our quality of and our expertise may be able to attract their interest. We keep on trying along these lines. This is just a record to show you the ERCs that we have, all the funds. These are all available in our webpage. I should stress that we got also 7 LEDEC fund grants, which are also competitive. And we also, all this information is available in our webpage. And we also have 2 more grants, which these are the 2 extra people that were graded A in ERC and were not funded. Yannis Leodakis is actually still waiting, fingers crossed, he may be able to get it. But these 2 projects may start at the end of 2023, funded by the Stavros Niarchos Foundation. So this is what I say as a member of the Institute, but it's also important to see what other people say. And we were very fortunate that last year we were evaluated 2.5 years into our mission. Thanks to Nectarios, actually, we insisted to be evaluated. And Chryssia Kouveliotou actually was the evaluator of our institute. And we were also very fortunate because she was the member of the committee that evaluated ISL back in 2014. So she kind of knew us as a group there, and she saw where we were going. And these are the recommendations, right? She suggested that we should have more strategic planning because attracting high quality ERC project winners is good, but we need to have a strategy. I'll come into that. They identified that we need to hire more people to increase the critical mass. And they exemplified the need to have financial support from Forth to enable to invest on our growth just because of this unstable situation. So what we did when we received that, we went to Anoia and we had our retreat for over a weekend. And we drafted a plan which we will send to our advisory committee and then respond also to Professor Kouveliotou about that. So we took the report very seriously. But other than that, I think it's important because not very many people have seen this, to actually see what they claim as our strengths. They list 10. They stress that Skinnacas is the leading observatory in Greece. We do good public outreach, excellent science. The scientific output is world-class. The cohesion of the institute is very good. We are number 8. We are very good in attracting external funding. We have some weaknesses. Two are the major, the strategic planning and the fact that we don't really have groups. We have people, but this also is small number statistics because at the time we were evaluated, Carolina, our fourth researcher, had just started. So this is something we are working on. And there were also opportunities and threats. There are several opportunities they list there, but they also stress the fact that we need extra personnel for engineers in particular, and even the admin support is we have one person, single point failure for the whole institute. And there is always the risk of actually, if we don't increase a bit, we may lose people, and that would be substantial problem in our achieving our goals. So, reaching the end of my talk, I will say a few words is that about vision and promises. So, going back to the Far East, Dalai Lama, in order to carry a positive action, we must develop a positive vision. But then we look in the West, and in particular in New York City, which says that if you are not failing every now and then, it's a sign you are not doing anything very innovative. Woody Allen said that. So, we talk about vision, but let's look back. You know, people are promising things, and this is what I had promised back on February 15th. Most of you have not seen this. This was in my, at the middle of the term. You need to write something about your plans, what you have done and what you plan to do. And you write a document that you send to the ministry. No one reads that, but you have to write it. So I wrote it and I sent it. And I'm not cheating, this is what I wrote. And it's in Greek, of course. So what did I say that we will do? I said that we will continue the improvements of Skinnakas. And what I will say, what we will do is that we will be fully validated in SST and EuroQCI, which we did. We will regularize the 20,000 square meter land of Forth. We haven't really done that yet. We are in the process. We would start building a 1.5 meter telescope. Well, we are doing a 1 meter telescope. And I said that we will start construction of a building. We will connect the observatory with optical fibers and with electricity. As I showed you, we have started those, so I would give 80% of that. Then I said that we wanted to hire 2 more people as researchers and a technician. We were fortunate actually, we didn't really, Carolina joined us on her own, so I didn't do anything about that. And we hired an IT person rather than an engineer. So I would say we are 50% on that. I take credit on this. And we will attract affiliated researchers. We actually did that 100%. And in public outreach, I said that we will be more active and whatnot, and we actually did that. So I think it's a passing grade. So I didn't lie too much back 2 years ago to this day. So also going back, on January 10th, when I gave my talk in Greek again, this was my last slide. And I said the three lessons that I had from the previous term that I was a director in Athens at the observatory. And I said over there that, you know, the director should, and all administration, it's a job. And what they do is that they should serve and facilitate the reason why an institute is created, which is innovative research and applications. And I also said that the directors should have a vision, but they should also solve practical problems of the personnel. And one of the people who were in the room at the time, I remember, took a picture of that slide. And the other thing is that the directors come and go, and time passes fast. So we should make plans for more than 4 years, and we should remember that we are never indispensable. That's what I had written then. And I think 4 years and a month from that time, we would all agree that Forth is the best research center in Greece. Earlier last week, Nectario showed ample evidence that this is the case. And we strive that the Institute of Astrophysics will actually be Forth's crown jewel. And just as a small part is that I will just give two Institute of Astrophysics only practical solutions that other institutes probably don't do. We have a way that, thanks to Eleftheria and a very good lawyer, that we can complete all admin steps when we hire someone electronically without losing face and having a visitor coming to Crete and Forth and having to go through ICA, Euphoria, etc. We actually do that electronically. They come straight to Forth, the beautiful environment, so they feel that as if they are in Switzerland. And also there was an open problem that we discussed with the legal office here, and we actually found that out thanks to, or because of the problems of one of the postdocs that we had, is that if you are hired the first 4 months, you actually don't have health insurance. That we didn't know. And thanks to SEITA and actually the extra health insurance that we can buy, if you are a member, we were able to solve that, and Valentina is the first beneficiary of that. We hire young people, they never get sick, but this is one of the problems of the Greek system. Actually, it doesn't have to do with Forth, it's just, Greece is like that. So our vision for the next 4 years is that we want to maintain the cohesiveness that we have as a unit. So we keep on anticipating the needs of our members and help them to realize them. Continue producing excellent science. It's a challenge. Skinnacas Observatory will be a completely new place 4 years from now. If all goes well, we'll have a new telescope, 1 meter telescope. We will have Argos and Turbo operating. We will have the Asteroscholio that the town of Anoia is building. Beautiful road, electricity, fiber optics. It will be completely a different place. Moreover, we will be expanding in the field of astroinformatics. Jean-Luc Stark, who is a world leader, will be here with us 4 years at a time. So there are many applications and things that we probably haven't thought about. And there is also direct involvement. We will have direct involvement, both ESA Skylight and EUSST, which will cover some of our expenses. Hopefully, we'll be able to recruit new high-quality researchers. We will have elections soon. This is may be good because the government may decide to give extra positions for researchers. So if we manage to get one, and maybe another one from an ERC, it would be fantastic. And we need to recruit more engineers in permanent positions. We are trying to get also positions from the University of Crete. It's not evident. But the goal is that, at least my personal goal is that at the end of these 4 years, Forth will be, the Institute of Astrophysics here will be established as the place in Greece where young and ambitious astrophysicists who want to come and do high quality research, which will have an international impact, would like to come and work. And I will finish with our last slide, which is the motto of our institute: the sky is not our limit. Thank you very much. So I don't know what is the protocol now. There are Pablo. This is the Pablo.
Thank you, Vasily, for the presentation. I just want to make a couple of comments, questions, can be both, because as a president of the Scientific Council, we keep communication, and the communication with the director is continuous, frequent, and fluid. So I'm aware of the different challenges of the institute. But I mean, we all agree that Skinnacas is the main infrastructure of the institute that gives visibility, together with, of course, the members of the institute and their work. But Skinnacas is a main asset. But Skinnacas is in a rough environment. It's not a laboratory here at Forth, right? It's relatively far away. and affected by sometimes extreme weather conditions, which means that it requires continuous maintenance. Right? Now we have an excellent technical staff that knows the observatory and the instrumentation there perfectly well. But with all this new development, we're going to have a new telescope, a new building. We have these two projects, Argus and Turbo, which requires new instrumentation. All this means that the maintenance is going to be even harder. So what are the plans? We need to have more technical support for this.
You are right? And this is something that we had discussed. The positive thing is that through these projects, we can actually pay people and to support the telescope. So even though the only permanent people that we have are 2, I think we will have funding for 2 more positions, for example, which will support it, right? But of course, in order to keep these good people, you need to have new permanent positions which will open. So as I suggested, one position was we made the choice to hire an IT person because this was also a need, and it actually helped us strategically within the physics department where we are, and they also had needs, IT needs that our person covers. We have requested the Department of Physics put as a top priority research engineer for Skinnacas Observatory in its request from the university. So maybe in a year or 2, we may be able to obtain such a position if the university gets it, if the department gets it. And I remain optimistic that maybe in some other fashion, rather than ASEP, which was extremely problematic, as Nectarios knows very well, took us 4 years or more to actually reach that stage, that maybe the government decides to provide funding for permanent position along those lines. Or there is also a possibility, it also depends after the organigram of 4th goes through, that 4th itself opens a position in using its own funds to actually do it. So this is, in terms of engineers, this is the only thing that I can think of. I mean, this is an important problem, as you mentioned, and that's why I thought it was very important for us to, at the risk of losing some of the science time, to basically express our interest into both SST and Skylight, because that will give us funding to cover at least some of the salaries of engineering support. Also, the fact that the town of Anoia is actually building a building there, which they will own formally for the next 17 years. And they are very motivated in developing activities which are related to astrotourism and whatnot. That would be also strategically important to us, because we may be able, for example, if we finish the weather characterization of the site, to actually see whether we can keep the observatory open for a longer period of time. So we clearly cannot do it by ourselves. Even though people are very good in writing proposals, we are very few, so it's small numbers statistics, so you cannot really expect that unless you have external help, that we'll be able to do it. So I remain optimistic that maybe in 4 years from now, we'll have 1 more engineering position, permanent engineering position, and possibly 1 researcher. I think it's not too difficult to achieve that. It's always challenging, but not too difficult.
Yeah, the other thing is just to mention it, which is about this Astro School building. What is going to be the use of this? I mean, this is also a major thing, because with 80 seats capacity, with a new dome, I think we will have to make a step further to the activities that we now offer in the open days, just a presentation and a tour. So what do you think that, I mean, if you ask me, I guess that we should have some dedicated person I don't know if a full-time, but someone that not only presents whatever we have to present, but also even to create content.
Yeah, we are already in the process of discussing that with the town. The ideal would be to find someone that we can train and is being paid by the resources of the town. It's easier for the town of Anoia, for example, to obtain funding for soft money or more permanent positions. They have already invested substantially on that. You know, we saw the Topos of Voskou, for example, which is an exceptional place. We are planning to have the annual meeting of the Crete Amateur Astronomy Group. It will take place on July 13th over a weekend at Anoia, and we'll try to make it an annual event so that will activities that will bring also people from Heraklion and Rethymnos. So if we clearly demonstrate to the town that we can actually be very useful for the local economy, which we can actually, then I think we will be able to have their support, which is critical. So as you are right, I don't think that one of the people that we already have now will be able to sort of like lead the activities at Astroscholio. It's impossible, right, everyone? But we can train someone who will be able to do joint activities with the town of Anoia, and when we have our open nights, also provide space. So I think it's hand waving, but I think that's the direction.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you for the presentation. I personally think things are going very well in at least the years that I'm here. You mentioned before about the healthcare problem for the postdocs. I'm sure you know there is we don't have insurance as PhD students, and I know I'm very well aware this is a Greek issue. But is there anything the institute can do?
We had discussed that actually this was also brought up when Nectarios actually made his presentation. The reason why this happens is because of complex regulations of the funding agencies, for example, right, and where the source of funding goes through. If you have a contract which is through ELIDEC, then it is compulsory to have this type of health insurance. If you do not have that, then you don't have it. In the past, probably you know better, Forth was offering private health insurance in addition to the minimal insurance that we all get, for example, from the hospital. But when the crisis came, this was considered sort of like as an extra benefit that was given by the employer, which was Forth to the people, and it was considered inappropriate and it was cut. I know that the administration is trying to find a better solution to that, but it's a bit beyond our control, right? For cases where you have this peculiarity where you have never worked in Greece, so you just start your health insurance and the first 4 months, you are not covered. We were able to find a solution. But for PhD students in particular, I don't think we have a solution.
Thank you.
Okay, I have some comments about the size issue of the institute. So with respect to excellence, I was very pleased to see that your institute was, it stood out of the 36 Greek institutes in the evaluation. It was one of the most outstanding. Interestingly, the other one, which was distinguished from all others, was IMS, another small size institute. So you said that you want to be the best or the jewel. I don't remember exactly.
Small crown jewel.
The small crown. Okay, you achieved this. The question is that whether you can maintain it in the future, and whether your plans, your thinking is in this size, in the current size, or so I was surprised also in the evaluation that the recommendations, they recommended an increase, but it's a very incremental increase in size. It's nothing.
Yeah.
To me, even if this is achieved, it will be instead of 9 researchers, will be 10.
Yeah,
11.
This is a very good point.
And
Yeah.
just to finish, whether expansion would cost on excellence. So whether the two things work against each other.
I'm sure that as an ex-director, and all directors know, it's very difficult to attract high quality people in Greece. It was always difficult. And through the crisis,
but you succeeded.
We succeeded, but if you see, it's still small number statistics. I think we have been trying very actively, and you know that some people, Nectarios, for example, knows that there were some people actually with ties through Crete to bring them here, and in particular females, right? Which we want to do, and it is very difficult because good people that have many options, they need, if they want to come to Greece, they want to do it mostly for personal reasons. They don't do it for the salary and whatnot. So, if you were to ask me, I want us to increase. I don't think that we will double. I don't think that there are 4 high-quality Greek astronomers or foreigners that want to come to Crete and work with us over the next 4 years. I don't think we can find them, because we have been trying. That's why I said 1 or 2.
Because of the salaries and
because of salaries, other options.
But if this was not an issue,
if this was not an issue, I think that the ideal size for us would be probably something. I think IMBB is something like 2025, and you are 2025. Maybe if we were to reach with the affiliated faculty being something like 15, but I don't think that we will achieve that over the next 4 years. Maybe we will achieve that, before I retire in 10 years, right? Maybe once we are a bit more, we will have more momentum and it would be more appealing to more people to come. Because right now, the way we operate, and this was something that we consciously did, is that we don't have research groups, right? Because you have, it's more like as if you are a faculty, that you build your own group and your PhD students, and we have parallel common interests. That's how we are operating. So, but so that is indeed, I do want us to increase, but I don't think that we can increase without sacrificing quality by over the next 4 years. If we can get 2 people over the next 4 years at the same level, we are very fortunate. I think something that Nick had mentioned, that every new hire we make is better than the previous one. So Sifis and I, as we used to say, I think he left, he had a class, is that somehow we are the oldest now. Somehow we fell through the cracks. Somehow, I don't know how they hired us 17 years ago. If you see the people that have come since, right, with Andreas and Vaso and Kostas and John and Carolina, I mean, it's Tanyo, it's impressive. I mean, how things, all the new people that were hired are better than the previous ones. And it's difficult to keep on doing that. You will always have up and down because we are humans, our priorities change. You may hire someone who is excellent and then they want to do something else in their life. And but I think in that context, I think that's why we pay a lot of attention to the people we have, and we do that in particular for the permanent personnel, but also all the postdocs and the PhD students we have are also, I think, they they are of high quality. And I didn't mention it, but if you see, I mean, we consistently send our PhD students to the best schools and our postdocs. Well,
in this context, I wanted to hear, because okay, I am not an astrophysicist, but we don't, and from the evaluations you cannot decode easily. But what kind of areas, your institute, scientific areas within astrophysics is covered by your activities, and what is not, and whether you want to move to areas where, due to size, you could not enter.
There was, from our facilities, we were doing basically, even in the old days, we were doing mainly time domain astronomy, variable projects, like Pablo is using extensively, for example, Schinakas, and he was doing a lot of science which was related with sort of like binary stars, which change their emission, and combining optical observation with X-ray observation. A number of us were doing space, Andreas Zezas, Sifis Papadakis, and myself, X-rays and infrared. A couple of the people that we knew, the new people that we hired are also doing that. Now the trend then moved, and with the Roboball and now Pacify, we got into the polarimetry, optical polarimetry, which is a new window, and we are developing world expertise on that, just because we have two excellent instruments and access to the site, and great visibility with Pacify when it starts operating. And that is something that we will continue to maintain. And then with Turbo and the radio astronomy component, which is now supported by John as well as from Carolina, we'll get into sort of like, I think, in particular with the time domain again, the optical. This is not in optical and radio. This is not something that we discovered. But if you think about it in terms of astronomy, you basically have across the whole wavelength spectrum, you took images of everything. So you cover the frequency wavelength space and whatever you look, the surface. So the extra parameter that you have now is time. Take another picture very frequently and analyze it very frequently, which you can do because of computing power and the fact that you have big CCDs. That is one part. And then the aspect of polarization, which is another part of the light. So this is where astronomy is going in general, just because of technology. And we do that. We do it in a small niche. I mean, we cannot compete with big institutions, or Greece is not a member, for example, of the European Southern Observatory, which has access to huge facilities, because we need to buy in 10 million and then pay 2 million a year. The government, it's unclear that they would ever do that if they give.
And in these areas, with this incremental increase in the personnel, you can still achieve critical mass.
Yeah, I think we can achieve, and we can do it, right? If we have, you say we had a couple of engineers to help the ones that we have now, permanent, for example, right? The critical part for us, and my anxiety as a director, is that we don't have a lot of, to pay one person salary, you need 250K new money every year, right? That's not easy. You know it very well, right? So that's why it is important for us to be able to get some permanent positions. And we will, I think we can do high quality science. I mean, there is a niche and a window that you can, and that's why, and you can see it from our publication record, right? I think that we are doing it while we are here in Crete. So, yeah.
Vasily, we came here because, we like the Institute, and we like all the people. And I want to congratulate you right away for all the work and all the achievements of the Institute and all the people. And take the opportunity to say that you know, we at ISL feel that it was very correct that we also helped or pushed or you know, we decided to help the establishment of the new institute. Of course, that had a cost for us of people, because, you know, some of the first slide that you showed, there were people that were affiliated with the institute as faculty members, and Pablo, of course, who was here from early on, and all the senior people. But indeed, that was the aim of the whole thing. That is that the new institute would give you the opportunity to take off much faster than within another institute with even with the title electronic structure and laser. I mean, I don't know some of the new people that came as postdocs or a faculty, if they would come, you know, for a title like electronic structure and laser. So indeed, that was, you know, and this is how, at least I believe that you know, an institution, a center can go forward. You know, like to have a group that you know that establishes itself, and then even with a few people, not many, you know, they can go forward. So this is what. And one more note: this jewel in the crown, and our report already says that for ISL. But
small.
Gianni, we will know the information.
It's really the jewel.
We don't know the information on how they compare. Okay, so this is something that you know as a tech, but we don't know it. So.
In general, the two stand out for all others. It's astrophysics and physics Institute of Planetary Studies.
That's good.
It's not the big institutes like
It's you know, there are different challenges, right? Yeah. No, I think yeah, entropy is a big problem also. Yeah.
To reach this
Yeah.
level of excellence.
Yeah.
I'm joking.
Yeah.
Okay, so I have a related comment, which actually stems from what you presented about strategy and the criticism about opportunism from the committee. You know, I think this is quite a misunderstood situation for Greece, because Greece is a small country. We are a small, by comparison, research center, and our institutes are small. And it's very difficult to impossible to actually attain critical mass in any particular area of research. Let's face it. I mean, any field, no matter how niche it might be, it's difficult for Greece to attain critical mass. So for Greece and for peripheral institutes in Greece, more particularly, especially if you have to fight with Athens, which is the population gravitational center of Greece. That's where half of the population is. So it's by statistics, it's more likely that people who come to Greece, scientists who come to Greece, will want to go to Athens because that's their home. So what's left there for a peripheral research institution like FORTH, a peripheral research institute like the Institute of Astrophysics? It's actually to follow an opportunistic strategy, which is a valid strategy for growth. You go with the best you can find, and that's the only criterion. You don't compromise quality with the aim to achieve critical mass, to amass a lot of people in a specific area to achieve critical mass. Instead, you go with the best, no matter what they do, no matter what the focus of their research is, because that's what brings you the added value that you need to be at the front. And I think that's the secret that these two institutes, although small, albeit small institutes, achieve to be the best institutes in Greece and also internationally. Because the focus of quality, because of the focus on opportunism. this word, I think, is misunderstood in Greece, and we should really not make the mistake of sacrificing quality just in order to achieve critical mass in a specific field. Because for a country like Greece, and especially for peripheral institutes, this is sometimes or most likely not possible. This actually reminds me, just for the history of it, since we are celebrating the 40 years of Ford's history, this was a long debate here at Ford that was going on between some of the founding fathers of Ford. I remember these debates where, on one hand, Lefteris Econom was arguing that we should strive to attain critical mass. On the other hand, Fotis Kafatos was more, leaning towards an opportunistic model where you have recruiting of the best people. And I think historically, it has been proven that the opportunistic model works for countries like Greece, for peripheral institutions like Ford. And that's, I think, one of the secrets of your success. I actually don't think that this is justified criticism from the evaluation committee. I think that's a good thing. But if you have people like those professors coming from big places where you actually have critical mass, at Harvard, of course, you have critical mass, or I don't know, at Max Planck in Germany, they think in those terms. So it's difficult for them to actually get in touch with the reality on the ground here in Greece. So that's sometimes you hear these comments, you think, because people think sometimes automatically about concepts, that it's bad to go the opportunistic way. It's actually good, and it's what gives you the success that you have.
I agree. Yeah. Okay. Okay, I don't know.
This is actually a concept even in biology, for us biologists. It's called opportunistic foraging. And some species do that, especially in the desert, when you cannot really choose the food. You go with what you can find. So you look to find the best, and that's it.
I like that Greece is the founding desert.
Sorry. I don't know. You can hear. I don't see anything. No, maybe he was disappointed. Oh yeah, he has. No. Cannot unmute. How can he?
Now I can unmute. Can you hear me? Okay. Hi, everybody. Hi, Vasily. Hi, everybody in the room. Just first of all, to congratulate the Institute. Honestly, it's unbelievable work we have done. And just to add to what Nektaris was saying, just for this history, when I asked Lefteris why they did not establish the, let's say, an alternative sources institute like solar or whatever, he said we could not find really very good people to bring. Okay, so this is true. I agree with Nektaris about this. My question to everybody though is the following. I mean, if we have to be opportunistic because of what Nektaris just described, so what strategy do we do? Is this our strategy only? I've been trying to answer this for 30 years. So that's all. Again, congratulations, Vasily, and to everybody in the Institute. Thanks a lot.
Well, I don't know the answer to that. I think, well, it depends. It depends on the domain. It depends on the institute. I don't think, Yeah. Yep. think we are done. Ναι, ναι, ευχαριστώ πολύ. Thank you, everybody. Ναι. Ευχαριστώ.